Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to Trading Rebellion with your favorite analyst from Trade the Chain. My name is Nick Mancini, Director of Research, joined by CJ and Monte, both senior research analysts at Trade the Chain. And we are here to break down everything going on in crypto, TradeFi, and everything in between. If you've been watching the charts today, there's quite a divergence between crypto and equities, which is a bit of a switch up than we've been used to for most of actually 2023 this year. But we do have the FTX crypto liquidations on the horizon. We have CPI on Wednesday, and we have FOMC next Wednesday. So if you were looking for some action to trade, if you were bored the past few weeks like us three were, then there should be a little bit of action, and you're seeing some of it start today. So let's go ahead and start with what we're seeing in equities. I think the crypto narrative and conversation is important and one we'll get to, but I think more people are interested in what's going on in the world of equities, considering there's been a little bit more positive price action and information that we can glean that is immediately applicable, such as CPI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up DXY, which we've been starting with quite often, and had a really strong push up to that 105 level, but is now coming back down to what I would consider a demand zone. Basically anything kind of like around this area, I think is going to be one where you'll see some volatility and interest on pushing that back up towards the 106 level, which of course is the high from March of 2023. So we've been talking about this pretty much at the top of every session, and it's actually been very helpful the past several weeks in terms of at least momentum, meaning when DXY is moving higher, equities and crypto are moving lower. And obviously with DXY moving a little bit lower today, equities are breathing a bit of a sigh of relief and moving higher today. So what are we thinking on the DXY? I mean, my personal opinion was, push up to 106, but we did warn it would not be a straight shot up. And we did have this, drop back down when people got really bullish right here. We did, technically deviate and then deviated again back higher. So could we kind of see around 2, or maybe we bounce at 104.2 or 104.5 and climb back towards 106? Or do you guys think that, with possibly a good CPI print on the horizon and then an FOMC pause next week, we could see the dollar kind of pare back for the majority of September, which, would the early indication would obviously be equities move higher on that move. So CJ, Monte, what are you guys thinking right now? Or are you guys in kind of a wait and see type of
mode? Let me throw up my chart real quick here. This is the 4-hour DXY chart. And Nick, this is something that you and I had discussed on Thursday's episode of Trading Rebellion. The dollar approaching that very significant 105 level. And we talked about what could plausibly happen following a test of this level, right? A sell-off and a retest of this, comparably critical level being 104.5. So this level here of 104.5, we're seeing it hold, and it is reversing. And we're getting a bit of a reversal in the NASDAQ, not too much. But nonetheless, this is kind of the picture we were talking about on Thursday as a possibility, and we're seeing it play out here. So we got that rejection at the 105 level, but now we're getting support at this 104.45 level, which was previously resistance here, and also a level at which we saw strong sell pressure for the dollar back here in, what was this, the end of May, beginning of June here, when people started to make declarations of the dollar dying, and then that downtrend occurred. But this is clearly a very critical level for Bitcoin. And if we extrapolate this line, or for DXY, if we extrapolate this line back even further, you can see, each time we've tested above that demand zone, we've seen distribution. So this is a spot where I expect a reversal. This has been a hot Monday, although it's been kind of a weird one because we started off the day. If you look at the 15-minute chart, we gapped up And then we started with some major sell pressure and profit taking that drove us back down, only to reverse and then come back up. I would not be at all surprised to see tomorrow be the exact inverse of this, and the dollar bouncing from that critical level and continuing to grind upwards. So that's just kind of my projection for the week. Don't hold me to it, but I think that, given what we saw this morning from the NASDAQ, given what we're seeing from the DXY now, I expect to see essentially the inverse. So a gap down tomorrow to start the day. We'll move back up slightly, only to retrace and continue down. Ultimately, that is my outlook for the NASDAQ. And, I would say, you mentioned, Nick, that the correlation between Bitcoin and equities is more or less dead. And I agree 100%. Like, to the upside, it's unprecedented to see the NASDAQ up 1.1% and Bitcoin down 2.5%. I can't remember the last time I saw that. Like 2019 was, I guess, maybe the last time we've seen this sort of price action. But really, what it comes down to for me, I think the negative correlation to the downside will still be there. So if we do start to see negative price action in equities, I expect continued slotting in Bitcoin. So, based on what we're looking at here, 21K, 20K does not seem out of the realm of possibility by the end of the month of September. And, CJ and I talked a little bit about the crypto related equities this morning. Can dive into those more in a bit, but curious to hear CJ's thoughts on, the DXY and the overall markets as well.
Yeah, and CJ had a really good Twitter anecdote today that I saw. I think he posted in the TTC community right before he tweeted it as well.
Please don't put these words into reality.
No, well, I mean,
it's so depressing.
Not saying it's going to happen, but you did have an interesting point about what happened in 2019. So I figured that kind of be worth mentioning along with whatever your topics are today, CJ.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who's been around this market long enough has experienced a point in time where the market's just broke. Like it broke. Like the BitMEX, they literally had to turn the website off, or else price would have went to like $2,000.
Yeah,
we all remember that night. We might have even had positions on BitMEX at that point, and then we're like, well, we can't load the thing up. It's
can't say for certain, but maybe.
So yeah, and that typically happens, just during the complacency of the pre-halving year. And when you look at social trends, when you look at just interest and like view count across social media for Bitcoin, the interest just is not there. So I think this is very typical of, a pre-halving year. As for the DXY, it's, although I talked a little bit last week about how the prevailing sentiment, people talking about the dollar and really emphasizing it. Looking at the positioning this week, there's still a lot of shorts in the dollar. So the positioning is not necessarily mirroring the sentiment that is being shown on social media and financial media.
And so that shows a hated rally too. And we know hated rallies, can always go a lot farther than you expect.
Yeah, let me just show this very briefly, because I just want to show a relative level in terms of what we saw prior to the real parabolic uptrend in the DXY. So while there are a lot of shorts, there really are not many longs compared to like relative levels. When we've seen previous historic bull runs, specs can get a lot longer. So that's just something to consider if that trend actually materializes. But I do have positions that I'm long in the New Zealand and Aussie dollar. I guess I got the land down under currencies, but that's just kind of short term positioning wise as well. But DXY, yeah, I could, go higher here.
Last note on the dollar for me, I think, where would I start to kind of shift my bias? Because I think that's also a really good, important question you always have to ask yourself and have lined out is, I'm currently bearish risk assets and I'm bullish the dollar back up here. So we're not all dark, but I think the 104 level, I think we break below 104, the deviation's confirmed kind of, you technically your deviation is confirmed now, but like Monte demonstrated, this level is still of very keen interest to many traders and could very likely survive and push higher. But, you know, if we do drop down to 104 or below, then I'll really start to think, you know, do I need to, you know, start thinking differently? And one other thing that this is not something that I typically use, but it's been quite accurate lately. And I don't know if that's just because of the lack of liquidity or how much smart money is flying around right now, but the buyers and sellers at the end of the day have done pretty well for themselves. And this guy got kind of ran over a little bit. And this guy didn't have the best day ever, but buyers at the end of the day, Friday, you know, are certainly being rewarded today and have been. You know, sellers last Tuesday got rewarded very well. So, you know, although it's not 100% perfect, I think this is an interesting indication to see what's happening end of day, because they've been right more often than not. And as we continue farther, you know, I want to see what kind of the smart money is doing. And by the way, Monte, this is right where we discussed last week of a potential reversal area happening as well. So this is what we discussed Thursday. CJ, we missed you on stream, but we're glad to have you back today. But, you know, nice little swing failure pattern up. We're doing the classic, let's, you know, ride up to where resistance may be. If we can, you know, if we flip here and head down, then I'm expecting obviously the lows to get taken again. And I would expect that to be a nice catalyst for pushing Bitcoin, you know, firmly under 25K, and obviously the rest with it. So what do you guys think about that, you know, in that because I know, Monte, that was kind of what we were theorizing on Thursday, but does that idea still stand for you? Because I mean, no doubt, I think we can all agree if we flip this, we're going to ride up to 4,500 or higher, possibly, you know, all the way up into this range up here. But this is a key level for me right now. It's either this or that, in my opinion. Monte, you're on mute.
Oh, I said, CJ, would you like to go first?
In terms of equities?
I mean,
yeah, I'm looking at S&P 500 futures here.
For me, Nick, like, not much has changed since last Thursday. I still think this is the make or break level. And, you know, that first green line you have drawn, or the upper green line where, you know, we do break above current price, I would expect a pullback that's a little bit more severe than what's kind of pictured in that line there. So we do break above, then we see some profit taking where we pull back pretty significantly, bounce back off that critical level that you have defined there by the white line, and then, you know, start trending upward. That's still you know, one plausible scenario, but I still think the more likely scenario is we get rejected from this level. Tomorrow we see kind of the inverse of what we're seeing today in terms of positive price action. I mean, Tesla's up almost 10%. Is that going to be the case tomorrow? Or, oh, wow, it's over 10%. That's like not sustainable. And like right now, the NASDAQ is being completely sustained by the Qs. You know, we put in that Livermore 12 point. And even though we're seeing signs of positive price action today, I wouldn't be surprised at all if tomorrow we got hit over the head with some very bearish price action, catching a lot of people off guard. So I still think that level's very critical to watch, you know, and I still think that we are beyond that 12 point in the Livermore accumulation cycle. So
yeah, this one's very difficult to trade. And if you are, you know, if you are someone who trades based on higher highs and higher lows, or lows, lower highs, whatever, this is tricky, because I would have definitely, you know, agreed that entering shorts here is the move. And, you know, basically the way, I mean, you have to look at this very simply. Don't get too confused. Above 45.40 for S&P 500 futures, the lower high is busted. So it means you can still form another lower high, but it is busted, which means that the market structure is broken. We call that an MSB. So if the MSB is broken, then basically you just want to cut your trade and then try and re-enter on either a double top or another forming of a lower high. And then what your fantastic entry would be, let's say we break up, I'll do a different color, and then we form a lower high, and then we do something like this. So let's change this to like yellow. And then if we break under this, maybe you're in your short from up here. If we break under this, that's the MSB that would really define, okay, now we look really bearish. And I would probably add here. And then, if you, depending on how risky you are, maybe you close here or you add there, and then you just try and play the fair value gap all the way down to 4,200, something like that. That's pretty much how I would look at that. So, but apologies to get on my soapbox there. Market structure stuff is fun to me because I think it's just really simplistic, risk defined trading. Like everything that you're focusing on is right there in the lines. So, but do you guys have anything else on equities before we move to the crypto slate?
One thing I'd just like to point out quickly. I mean, Tesla up 10% today, continuing to climb. And, it looked like we were going to see a top here at around 272. And it looked like some shorts piled in, only to get squeezed out for us saying to continue to climb higher. Now, will we see a continuation of this? It's tough to say. A lot of people are eyeing this gap here. And I think that's important to note that there is this gap above Tesla that leads up to 290. If this gap is filled, then I think we get that market structure break that you're talking about, Nick, in terms of the NASDAQ getting above that 12 point that we had talked about. And that would purely be on the back of technical, technical strength here and, this technical gap fill. So it's just something to be aware of. Obviously Tesla's a major part of the Qs and the NASDAQ. So I think that if there were to be a break in market structure, it could be caused by an anomalous rise in price like Tesla is doing today. And it's continuing to grind up as I speak. So, yeah.
So was
Good
there
stuff.
any news?
Just only thing that I really had to add in terms of equities was the fact that, we look a lot at like seasonality, and you've been seeing a lot of people point to that seasonality chart of negative month of September and then October, followed by a year-end rally or like the Santa Claus rally many people will often allude to. And, nobody really looked at that at the start of the year, but now everyone's looking at it. So will it work now that everybody's... Monte, what was the paradox you called this morning?
I forget what
someone's paradox. Anyways.
Oh no, I was referring it to like Schrodinger's cat. Like if you're looking at it, then it's there. Like if too many people are looking at one technical indicator, then the technical indicator breaks. It's like it's funny how that works, right? It's like the saying the straw that broke the camel's back. It's kind of like the same thing with traders. It's like it works up to a certain point. If enough people follow it, yeah, that's great. But then once too many people are following it, that camel's back is going to break and the market's going to fall. And that's, exactly what we've seen with the seasonality effect, I think. And I think this morning you did a good job of, pointing that out, that is something that is very much in the narrative on Twitter, on CNBC. Everyone's talking about seasonality right now.
Yeah, so the contrarian would say we rally September, October, November, and December just gets, that's when we really come down. So maybe that happens. If I had to just guess, it's not how I'm positioning yet, but that's what I would guess is going to happen.
And we should note that our 2022 December there was no Santa rally. There was a Santa dump. So, those things are not always there. And the reason I mention that is because I actually do kind of feel that we're going to see a bit of a repeat of last year, this year. Like not that much has changed. And if anything, we're kind of in a worse position fighting the Fed on everything. So I do think probably see another repeat of last year, this year, if I had to bet. But obviously, we're sitting in September, so that's a long way off. But we'll check back with me in December if we're selling off into December 31st. That's my current indication. So, but let's go ahead and move over to good old Bitcoin. That's I just love saying Bitcoin for some reason. But I'm starting off here on a high time frame. I think this gives you the best picture of kind of where we're at. And I know I've got a lot of lines, but they all have a meaning on different time frames. But this 25.1 level was the low from August 17th. And I was talking about grabbing those lows since we had the grayscale candle. Finally grabbed those lows. And on the daily, if you zoom in a little bit, technically we did sweep that level, but we'll have to wait to see what happens at the daily close, which will be at 8 p.m. Eastern. So still plenty of time for this to drop lower or obviously climb back. So, that's a very key level. But we also have the lows from the June 14th and June 15th dump, which are down here at about 24.9. And those have been completely untapped since obviously the rise higher and the subsequent dump. So something in me, makes me believe that, because we swept this and didn't really sweep it hard, I would have kind of expected something a little bit more like this reaction if there was actually interest. So I have an inkling this is going to get swept possibly in the next week, more likely than not in the next 48 to 72 hours, maybe less. So that's kind of what I'm feeling now. But I will say, if we zoom in a little bit, one of the key levels I am looking at is 25.4, which is last week's low. So if we can somehow reclaim 25.4, I will enter longs and cut all of my shorts. That's kind of my trigger. So I'll probably back up the Brinks truck on a nice long or on a nice reclaim of 25.4. Sans that, I think I will be continuing to look for shorts. Monte, CJ, what are you guys thinking right now? Are you guys looking at anything HTF, LTF? What's your guys' indication on Bitcoin right now?
Well, I'm just going to throw up a chart.
Go ahead.
Look how perfectly inverse this is to the chart that you're showing here, Bitcoin. This is USDT dominance. So basically the total crypto market cap that is comprised of USDT at any given point in time. And good old technical analysis would tell us that we have a cup and handle forming here. And I'd say that's a little more sophisticated than what CJ refers to as my chimp trend lines. But nonetheless, this is a breakout level here, this 8.5% level. Anything above that, I think we start running towards 9%. And what this tells me is, we started the show talking about the DXY. In many ways, I would compare this to the DXY. When you see this rising, risk is off. People are moving out of their speculative assets and into a stablecoin. And USDT makes up 8.43% of the total crypto market cap right now. That is the most it's made up ever, almost ever. We're approaching all-time highs in the amount of percentage-wise stable coins.
If that was an actual crypto, I'd probably be longing it too. Just based on formation alone,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How could we factor in the unwinding of BUSD? Because that's been a really big story. A few billion have probably flown into Tether and, obviously USDC as well. Do you think that has any effect on, this or kind of the idea you just laid out?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I think, without the unwinding of BUSD, we wouldn't see this much capital flowing into USDT. Also, it just by having Binance stablecoin removed from the market, then that just gives more market share to USDT, thus causing dominance to rise. So ultimately, yeah, it is significant in the sense that it's a stablecoin competitor disappearing. But I don't think that. Well, I mean,
it's probably just a small piece.
Yeah, it's a small piece, I'd say.
BUSD didn't have big market share, but it definitely helped USDT, no doubt.
Yeah, BUSD, I think, what was it at its most?
5%. There was really nothing. It's always USDT, then USDC, and then everybody else is fighting for scraps.
So, yeah, no, it's definitely playing a part. There's no doubt about it. But In terms of can it push it more, I don't think so. I think if we're gonna see this break beyond this critical level here and head up, and I'm just gonna do this just to annoy CJ.
Hey, they work. They work. In retrospect.
Okay, so here that's from the brim of the cup. Extrapolate that. Oh baby, we're going to the moon. We're going to 10% in USDT dominance based on this cup and handle formation that we have forming here.
And I love this analysis because if you look at this and you really don't know markets, this is crazy people shit. But if you actually but if you actually know how to trade month over month, this is spot on. Like it plays more often than you think.
Yeah, we probably sound like women talking about their like zodiac signs.
Yeah, this is the view. This is the view crypto right now.
So I got these crystals back here. Want me to break them out?
Moon's in retrograde next week. We're all screwed.
Yeah, throw those crystals away, CJ, because the market's tanking. I think they're no good. They're no good. But no, in all seriousness, like Bitcoin, I think is in for a rough couple of weeks here. I brace yourself for that. Equity markets are rising while Bitcoin's falling. That's never a good sign. And with this DT dominance continuing to rise and possibly reaching a breakout level, I think we see more risk off price action. And I'll leave it with this last thing I'll say. One asset that I am looking to short actively, haven't taken a position in it yet, but it is where is it? There's two. First, I'll start with this one because this is the one that I'm going to take first. Okay, whatever. I can't find it on my watch list. Let me pull it up. And that would be Polka Dot. Now, this thing is essentially in negative price discovery right now.
Pour one out for Dot.
And I think really, like this thing, kind of sad.
Just go straight to the 2017 lows.
I mean, that's where we're headed. We're headed. It's a sad state of affairs for Polka Dot. I mean, below the $4 level, there's virtually no support. And also one thing that I like about this is that there's not a whole lot of people shorting this currently, despite the fact that we're seeing such negative price action. That tells me that there's likely some, sell pressure. And Joel makes a good point here. Use case unknown. It's a layer zero with
I still don't know what the hell is going on Dot. Like I
literally right. Like what does the token? What does the token do? Like I get what the layer zero is, but why do they need a token? Like
it's called an exit vehicle for about 10 VCs is what the token does.
Yeah, so like anything below $4 here for Dot, I think this thing starts to plummet. And like I said, relative to some other things like Bitcoin Cash, which I also think is a good short, it's not very crowded. This is a crowded trade. There's a lot of people trying to short this right now. So if you are going to short Bitcoin Cash, do it with very low leverage, if any, because there is the possibility of a squeeze like this, because it is a popular short. But if you're shorting Dot, I think you can get a little bit more aggressive and put on a little bit more leverage, maybe 3 to 4%. I think that would be totally feasible because above $4, you cut it, or like above 405, you cut it, and I think this thing just continues to slide. So that's my kind of short I'm taking this week, and I think that as long as too many people don't pile into it, it'll pan out nicely.
Yeah, I like the Dot short. I do like BCH. The one thing I will say, just for people who are listening who maybe have not traded BCH much, it is very high beta to Bitcoin. So if you do see a Bitcoin squeeze, BCH is probably going to be one of the top numbers on your watch list. So I do agree with Monte. That's a giant fair value gap that it needs to close still. But if it gets up to 220, I'm backing up the Brinks truck on a short for that, or on a rejection of 220, I should say, because that looked juicy as hell. So one final thing I wanted to end with, because Monte and I have been talking up a storm on this for months, and look where it's at, Monte.
Yeah, I know.
Might be breaking below support. Obviously, this was a deviation here, so we'll be looking for, this is going to be a very critical level right here. If it ends up dropping down to the 6 cents level, under that, it has not traded beneath that since the summer of 2022. And if we're talking about fair value gaps, this is one that is scary. That's that's a lot of room to drop. So that's something I'm watching right now. I'm actually in an ETH short. And so, I'm not, hoping for the downfall of these cryptos, but I do think that ETH, if it closes the daily beneath, so basically the body of the candle closes beneath this wick from the 29th of August, and we're on the daily chart, I may actually add to ETH shorts. So that's something to watch out for there, because obviously if this is dropping all the way down to 6 cents, what's the percentage on that? I think that's a couple percent. Yeah, that's a 2% drop. So even if you are, even if you want to play risk averse and short Ethereum and long Bitcoin to play the ETH BTC trade, that's a 2% possibility into mid to end of September. Now, it doesn't mean it will play out, but if that candle body closes below this one, I think it is very likely, in my opinion. So that's something. And then another one I wanted to call out, just because you're going to see me being very loud in the GTC community and on Twitter about this one. But actually, let me get to where I have the lines drawn. But I was telling CJ and Monte, now this could backfire on me because it is at the end of the day a meme coin. But I don't know if anybody has been following along with the Pepe team issues and what's been going on over there, but it seems to me, and if they want to sue me for libel, I will say they may be scamming from the inside, and it seems like a high candidate for that. Can't confirm, but to me that's what it looks like, and therefore I will be shorting this hopefully all the way down to where these green arrows are, or these green lines are. I think 44627 with 60, so 0.06 times 44672 is my first target, and if it breaks below that level, which is basically the initial range, then I may short it down to 14420. But this is enemy number one on my hit list right now. So I am vigorously shorting this coin and hope to see it down at 45144 soon. So you'll hear me talk about this over the next couple of weeks, but very similar to what Monte was saying. Broke under the lows, rejected off of the lows, and now has a massive fair value gap that it will very likely end up closing before the end of September. So that's one I want to be very loud about. So that closes it out for me. Monte, CJ, any coins on your list other than what Monte mentioned?
Yeah, just last chart here I got. There is one altcoin on the NASDAQ that's different. This is the coin BTC chart. So, compared to the ETH BTC chart,
looking a lot better.
Yeah. So
are you thinking of longing coin? Is that your implication, or longing coin versus Bitcoin?
It's more just an observation.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let the dust settle, and the market's going to do whatever it's going to do. And if we get another capitulation event like 2019, then I think there'll be plenty of buying opportunities before year ends. But I don't really want to force anything, so.
Yeah, I think it's an important observation, though, because when things do turn around, that resilience, it's not just going to be now that coin is showing resilience relative to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts showing high beta, or starts showing positive price action, Coinbase will show extremely high beta relative to Bitcoin. I think
Base may actually do a lot more than initially anticipated with some of the revenue they've actually been able to generate. And that's the other question you have to ask yourself: who's buying coin right now? It ain't any of the crypto natives on Twitter. They all hate the market right now, and for good reason. So who do
No,
you think?
I mean, the coin bull thesis is obvious. I mean, like, how many U.S. crypto exchanges have there been? And none of them have ever, you've never really been able to participate in their upside, whereas you've been able to kind of do that for BNB or many of these other offshore exchanges because they attach a token to it. So if there's a lot of volume, you long MEXC token, you long BNB, whatever. But for coin, you can finally participate in the upside. And obviously, we know majority of the interest and volume is happening onshore US. So when that does climb back, I mean, there's a massive case for coin, especially with international futures. And I imagine, I'm not going to get into politics here, but new administration could be a little bit of different rules and ways of pushing the business forward for Coinbase. So something I'm definitely, got my fingers crossed for. I definitely do not want to keep dealing with choke point 2.0. And I don't even think that's political. That's just, I'm tired of red candles, So the last thing I want to mention is, I mentioned this before. I just want to make sure our audience is aware. As of this is FTX's holdings as of January 17th. They're expected to be approved for the selling of these assets on the 13th of September, which is Wednesday, also happens to be CPI day. I don't think that is a coincidence if you kind of think about it, where everybody's front running for selling into a CPI print. Maybe CPI is good. Maybe we push higher. Everybody's shorts get liquidated, and then FTX starts orderly selling into the end of September. So just think about general context and look at your charts and say, does that kind of make sense? I think it does. So we'll have to see how we end up, playing, tomorrow and into Wednesday. But Solana's, a 685 million, I believe 400 million worth of the Solana is unlocked. People have been saying, oh, some of it's locked. Well, 2/3 is unlocked. So that's going to take a big hit. FTT, nobody's shorting that because it's already down bad, but 268 million of Bitcoin, 90 million ETH, 67 million APT, 40 million Doge, 40 million Matic, 30 million XRP. So definitely expect some of these to take hits. I doubt they're going to sell it all one clip. Maybe some goes OTC, maybe some goes, to a TWAP, but they've also got $1.2 billion worth of just random shit coins, and God knows, how those are going to get introduced to the market. So, that's why my general feeling is bearish. But again, when everybody is bearish, as CJ and Monte said, that's when sometimes, that's when pigs get slaughtered, So be careful with your trades, play it level to level. And of course, keep up with us in the TTC community because we're dropping trades and ideas and setups pretty much daily at this point. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Any final notes from you guys, CJ and Monte?
Nothing from me.
All righty. Well, should be a fun week.
Whoa.
What you got, CJ?
I'm kidding.
Oh.
I hope you guys have a wonderful and profitable week, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Yes, sir. So go ahead,
CJ's
Monte.
still thinking about Bitcoin. He's gonna make a cryptocurrency backed by corn.
Say Bitcoin a couple times. I guarantee you it'll get stuck in your head.
Futures, so. Backed by corn futures.
Yeah, backed by corn futures. There you go. Hey,
there you go.
There's been dumber ideas.
Final
All the
note.
crypto kids are like, oh, we're trading a new coin. They're just trading corn. They don't know it.
The new hot Robinhood coin is corn futures. It could happen. You never know. I would have never guessed AMC and freaking BlackBerry would be top traded stocks in my life. So, but final notes, of course, we are working with BingX and Didex. So BingX centralized exchange right below me. Won double awards back to back for best broker of the year by TradingView. And then Didex is our preferred decentralized exchange. So if you don't want to deal with centralized exchange risk, you also want to earn Didex tokens while you trade. That is a great venue for you. And of course, please do join us in the Trade the Chain community. And of course, our beautiful data dashboard, complete with everything from sentiment to market data to on-chain data, 14 days free at www.tradethechain.com. See Monty's and CJ's beautiful faces every single day, every single morning. Our trade calls, our setups, everything that's going on in the macro news. If you want to just have someone deliver information right on your plate every single day, the TTC community is the best place for you. So with that being said, good luck, happy trading. We will see everybody on Thursday.